Another person thinking about the 2026 election is none other than the one and the only Gavin Newsom. And even Mother Jones sniffed this out. Gavin Newsom's MAGA drift is here. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. In suggesting that Democrats were wrong about trans athletes and cozying up to MAGA favorites, Newsom's presidential ambitions are more craven than ever. Thank you, Nao, you lady. Thank you. And of course, this is Mother Jones, so you're going to have to take this with about a whole bag of salt. As Donald Trump wages an all-out war on just about every corner of American life, Democrats have appeared nothing short of comatose. Their struggle to respond, which has since seen pink attire and auctioneer-style signs, has instead revealed a party relying on the last dregs of the resistant era politics to pull us through this unending series of crises. Glad to see Mother Jones agrees with my spot-on analysis. But in case you were wondering, the one and only Mr. Gavin Newsom launched a podcast recently, and he's bringing on conservatives, and he's kind of doing the Stephen A. playbook, where you're kind of making the rounds and trying to get people on your side and try to appear more moderate, because the Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton style of campaigning is over. You can't be Bernie Sanders. You can't talk about capping wealth and, universal health care and all these other things. Democrats have to pretend that they believe in the middle once again. They have to pretend to shuffle back to the middle in order to try and win back some of these voters. At least that's what they think. And so Gavin Newsom brought Charlie Kirk on, who never met a paycheck he didn't like, and they get to talking about things. And this is the part of the conversation between the two of them that Mother Jones is freaking out about.
So you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right. that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
And that's where everybody's freaking out. He is drifting away from the trans issues, even though he spearheaded it. And when he thought it was copacetic and when he thought it was working for him, he was all about that life. But now that he's trying to run for president, and I'll talk why he has a great shot in a moment, it's one of these things. Let's see what Mother Jones has to say. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Thursday debuted his new podcast, This is Gavin Newsom. The result seems to be an open invitation for the right to embrace a new man. In fact, Newsom in his first episode appears eager to abandon his record of supporting LGBT MAP, cozying up to the likes of Charlie Kirk, and criticize so-called cancel culture, as well as Black Lives Matter. Yes, because he is setting the stage for 2028. And people don't believe me, and they should believe me because I'm correct in this regard, that Gavin Newsom is the most dangerous kind of politician right now. Well, Rick, he's a white guy, and the Democratic Party won't support a white guy. If the shills tell them to support him, they will. If the shills say line up behind Gavin Newsom, they will. And I said it before, Gavin Newsom is a dangerous politician because 95% of the general population does not follow politics like you and I. They just don't. Okay? The election's over. They're whatever is going on in March right now. They're just handing out, doing what they got to do. And they're not worried about it at all. So Gavin Newsom is a tall, conventionally attractive man with a slick smile. He's the kind of guy that can roll into a Nebraska town and cozy up to the soccer moms, and the soccer moms will say, "Oh my gosh, he's a very attractive man. He's very nice. He's got a really nice smile." People will pick presidents for less. People have picked presidents for less. And I'm telling people right now, Gavin Newsom is going to continue to have quote-unquote conservatives. I'm sure he'll have Jack Posebic on here and all these other conservatives and other moderates and Stephen Smith and all these other kinds of people so he can have a record when the time comes. This is the most important part of this podcast. Not for views and not for money and not for... This gives him an audio paper trail, if you understand what I'm saying. Meaning, when people try to say, oh, well, you've been against blah, 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 he can say, well, I said this on my podcast, and they can just roll that out. And I said this on my podcast, and he rolls it out. It's perfect. Yeah, will the ultra liberal base of the Democratic Party not be happy? You're right. You're right. But you know what? Snake oil salesmen, they sell. They sell. Your hot dog 990. You are right. He is a modern snake oil salesman. But you know what they do? They sell. Those people know how to make that money. And he's the kind of guy that he could sell his version of, because what was the old saying? Democrats have to run to the middle before they can govern to the left. He can run to the middle all day, and he'll have 2 years of podcasts to back up. So when people say, oh, he's an extreme governor, look what he did to California and all these other things, he can say, well, look, on my podcast when I was talking to Charlie Kirk, on my podcast when I was talking to Jack Bosebic, on my podcast when I was talking to this, that, and the other person. It's actually very smart. It's a very smart strategy, and a lot of people are not seeing it because they're like, oh, J.D. Vance is going to win no problem. The Democrats are looking for somebody like him. They've run 2 women in 3 elections, and the 2 times that the women ran, they got blown out. They cannot run a woman for the next two cycles. They can't run one until AOC runs in 2036, if that's right. Yeah, 2032. Yeah, 2036. It won't happen. They cannot. Maybe they'll throw a female into the vice presidential role because that's a little more acceptable, quote unquote, and it'll fulfill some things. They can put Jasmine Crockett as the VP or whatever the case may be, but he is going to be the front runner. It's going to be him versus Stephen A. Smith. I'm telling you, book it. And he's setting up the audio paper trail as we speak. It's just what it is. And people who are making fun of it, you're not seeing the long game here, folks. You're drunk on the MAGA power trip right now. You're drunk on the fact that Trump's in and he's signing executive orders and J.D. Vance has all these memes about him. Listen, I think J.D. Vance is fine, but you're 6 weeks in, man. You got 3 years left. You got 3 years left, and you got a lot of time for the Democrats when they finally coalesce around Gavin Newsom. And there'll be some complaining. Oh, why can't you have a female? Why can't you have it? But they will shut them up just like they did with Joe Biden. Here's the thing, Hot Dog. You're right. He's not there for views. They were there for Charlie. It's perfectly fine. He doesn't care if this thing never tracks because he's building it up for his election. It's one of those things. He doesn't care if he gets anybody. He's trying to build up an audio paper trail for his campaign. So he can show people when they say they call him an extremist. Oh, he's an extremist Democrat. I was talking to Charlie Kirk and I said that it was unfair for men to compete in women's sports. Does that sound like somebody who's an extremist? Come on, folks. You guys are smart. You guys know. You guys are figuring this out before I am. They're already playing the long game in 2028. They'll let Trump do everything he wants to do right now because right now they're setting on 2028, and this is one of the strategies that they are using.